Hey guys, and welcome to my monthly Q&A. Thanks so much again for submitting your questions month after month. Sorry for the delay. I had a little accident and broke a couple of my ribs, but I'm doing much better. So thank you all who reached out and to see how I was doing. I'm doing well, and I'm happy to be here to be able to answer your questions. The first question, as usual, is how's the market doing? So I can tell you that it's continuing to be stable. There have continued to be multiple offers on properties, and there's still a lot of activity out there. What I have noticed is that, and I think I mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again because I think it's important to note that there's a lot more hesitation in the market, and it could be because of Corona. It could be because people are just unsure about their jobs, and just in general, I think that people are just hesitant about the future. So what happens is there's a lot more people that are backing out of transactions, so the dropout rate is higher, and you see a lot more houses coming back on the market. And then again, like I said, they eventually do sell, and you still have multiple offers, but people are a lot more picky. Appraisal values, again, I've seen appraisers being a lot pickier, and then if appraisals don't come in, buyers being a lot more hesitant to follow through with the purchase because of the appraisal. Whereas before, I think there was less emphasis on that, and just in general, people were more willing to move forward with a transaction no matter what it was, because everyone was in this kind of like buying frenzy. And I think that that's a little bit cooled down, despite the fact that the market's still been really good. So I'd keep an eye on it and kind of just see where it's going. Again, I don't think anything's gonna happen right now, but if you ask me, there might be a cool down coming up soon. Our second question is, how many homes do I need to see before I buy? So this is not a question that has one specific answer. I can't tell you, you need to see 1,000 houses before you buy so that you know that you're buying the right one. I've had buyers that just walk into the first house and they know that it's their dream home. It's a feeling that they get, and they want to put an offer the first house that they see. I typically recommend to, start exploring the market at least a couple months before you decide to buy, even if you're not heavily looking. I think that it's really important to become familiar with what's out there, so that when you do get ready to pull the trigger, you know that you're making a smart and informed decision, and not just on the whim buying something. It's a big purchase in your life, so I definitely think you should at least see a few homes before you buy a house. And just in general, even if you're not buying, even if you're not selling, I think that one of the most important things is to always be aware of what's going on in the market. Search the websites just to kind of see what prices are in the neighborhood. Talk to realtors, talk to people, see what the house next door to you sold for. I mean, it's always just good to know what the value of your property is, and what the value of properties in the neighborhood that you might move into in a few years is, and kind of see how the market is trending. It's always good to stay informed, even if you're not specifically on the market at that time. And that way, when you are on the market, you are much more prepared to make whatever decision it is that you will be making. And our last question is, what is the final walkthrough, and do I need to do one? So the final walkthrough is actually called the verification of property condition. It's not called a final walkthrough, but basically what it is after you do all your inspections and you remove all your contingencies and you're just about ready to close, and if the house was occupied and the buyers and the sellers have already moved out, you want to go in and make sure that the house is in the exact same condition as when you originally saw it. So let's just say they moved out, and while they were moving out, their sofa knocked a hole into the wall, and that hole wasn't there before. You want to make sure that that the house is delivered to you the same way that you got it, and that there's no extra unnecessary damage. Also, you want to make sure that if they said that they were going to do some repairs, that they actually did them. So a lot of times you can either bring the inspector back to make sure that they repair the things that they said that they were going to repair during the request for repairs, or if it's something visible, then you want to make sure that those things were done. So I definitely recommend to do a final walkthrough, or a verification of property condition to be more accurate. There are situations where the house was either vacant and no one lived there, and maybe you feel comfortable not doing a final walkthrough. You will have to sign a waiver that you don't want to do the final verification, because obviously it's a liability that you want to make sure that your clients were able to have a last look at the property before they close escrow. And a lot of times they're investors and they don't really care what the condition of the house is, so they can waive it. And also sometimes you have the sellers renting back the property for a month after they sold it, and so at that point you might want to do some sort of lease back, and only after they leave make sure that the house is in good condition so that you can release their deposit back to them. But just in general, I think it's a good idea to do a final walkthrough in the same way that I think it's a great idea to do inspections. In fact, I never recommend to forego inspections unless it's really like an investor that's buying the land for land value. Even if you don't intend to ask for anything back, which, you're buying the house with the intent of paying what you're paying for it. But if you don't intend to find anything, you just want to know what you're buying. So that's why that's important. And that's basically it for today. Sorry for the shorter Q&A today. Like I said, I'm a little under the weather, but wanted to make sure that I got out here and made sure to answer some of your questions. So thank you again, and see you guys next month.